Hi, everybody. Sorry that I'm not live and in person teaching you guys. I am feeling very sick. I'm not too bad when I'm laying down, but even sitting up in a chair for any significant amount of time is really painful and hard to do. So I appreciate you guys taking some initiative on your own here. We're going to be doing an easy lesson in this video. It's just reviewing what different things are transformations. Transformations are just simply changing one picture, shape, figure, as I use it in here, from the way it originally looks by some logical pattern to some other way. And you know all of these already, but just reminding you of vocab here and some new vocab you may not know. Transformation changes one figure to begin with, which is called the pre-image. In other words, what comes first with the prefix pre, and then changes the pre-image onto a new figure called the image. So in all these four pictures using the letter F here below, we change pre-images to images, blue to red. So these are examples of a couple of different things here, and you might know some basic words here, some 4 and 5 letter basic words for these first few. This first one here, people often call it a flip. It's okay for you to think of the word flip. I'm going to want you to get out of that vocabulary word soon. The second one, people often think of it as turning the figure. Again, I want to sort of get you out of that soon, but it's a word that's okay to think of. And this one here, people often use a simpler word calling it to slide the figure from one place to another. These three here have words that you need to know. A flip is called a reflection. And if you think about a reflection in a mirror, you can think that what looks to be on your left side in real life is on the right side, not of the way you're looking at it, but would be the right side of the person, of your reflection of yourself in the mirror. It's flipping one side to another. Like, for example, when you touch your left ear in the mirror and you look at the image in the mirror, the image will be touching your right ear in the image because things have been flipped. Of course, it's still on your left side, but it's the right of the mirror there. A turn is called a rotation. And a slide is a word people often mix up with the original word transformation, but a slide is a translation. And the way I always try to think about this one here is if you move something from one location to another on a map, you may have to translate its language, but the meaning of it's exactly the same. So translations look exactly the same, they're just in a new location. This last one here has some words that people know as either an enlargement, which this picture is an example of, or a reduction. We're not going to be getting into these until third quarter, maybe fourth quarter here, but enlargement and reductions are dilations. Today, you're not going to have anything to do with dilations, but if for whatever reason dilations come up, you need to know they're not reflections, they're not rotations, they're not translations. Dilations are sometimes thrown into this chapter and in future chapters as a none of the above thing for a while until we get to talking about shapes that really are different sizes, and that requires us to learn, do some math review from Algebra 1 of proportions first, which we're not ready to do just yet in the class. All right. So we have that here so far, and down here below I have the 8 examples that you need to be able to recognize. You do not have to be able to draw pictures of all of them. We're going to be focusing on 3 of them eventually here. But if you saw a picture, all you're going to have to be doing on IXL on your first assignment on this topic is recognizing, is it a rotation, is it a reflection, is it a translation? The easiest one should be translations. So translations should be easy because they are not changed except moved. So if you don't rotate it, flip it, or do anything to it, just move it, and it's oriented the same way. In other words, this one here has a longer bottom side than the other 2 sides. If the longer bottom side is still on the bottom, it's not changing any way, it has to be a translation. So that's easy. How do you tell reflection versus rotation? And that can get a little bit harder on some of the harder ones. So let's look at the easier ones first here. Give me a second to grab another color here. So on a reflection, what you're going to notice is you're changing the points so they're directly above and below each other if it's reflecting over the x-axis, or directly left and right on the y-axis. So it'll look like it's just flipped over. And to show you the line that's flipped over here, notice all the points are the same distance away. Like this point I have near in purple is 1 unit above the green line, and the red point that's near is 1 unit below the green line. This one here, I have a point that's 3 spaces to the left of the green line, and it flips over to 3 spaces over the right side of the green line. There are a couple other ones here that are harder involving diagonals. And if you get unlucky on IXL, you'll get a lot of these reflection ones that sometimes people think are rotations. So you need to be careful here. If you try to flip something over a diagonal line, this is called a reflection. In other words, notice this point here is just flipped over. It's not the whole object is turned. It's flipped. It just happens to be flipped over a diagonal line. And the only 2 diagonal lines we spend our time on are these ones here that sort of go at a 45-degree angle to the x and y axis. And again, the idea is that they're flipped. Rotations, however, are different. Rotations are you're actually turning every point the same amount. Turn this 90 degrees. Whoops, I messed that up. Let me fix that. Turn this point 90 degrees. Turn this point 90 degrees. Turn it like you're rotating it around a circle, either one direction, or as you guys can see here in this back one, the other direction. And this one can sometimes be the hardest here, flipping it all around. In terms of testing on this shouldn't be too bad. In terms of the IXL, it just depends how lucky or unlucky you get. If you get a lot of problems like the reflection over the diagonal lines or the rotation of 180, it's very easy to get those two confused with each other. So sometimes it takes a while to get to an IXL square of 180 if you have trouble doing those harder ones and you get a lot of unlucky answers. On any type of quizzes or tests, though, we are going to keep it to the simple ones, the reflection over the x and y axis, a translation, and if you have to recognize it, just turning it 90 degrees to the left, 90 degrees clockwise or 90 degrees counterclockwise. All right, if you guys want to try out your IXL level to a score of 80, that's your first assignment of the day, and then you'll have another video and a second assignment of the day somewhat soon. Take care, everyone.